Boom. Here I am. Hello. Welcome back. It's just me this week. Denise is not going to be with me. Uh, there's uh, there's just been a lot going on. Um, this, as most of you know, hello, David Keith. I'll get to all the comments here in just a second. But as many of you might know, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. Denise has been going through a lot of things with the job change and a lot of things going on, and she just needed a mental health break this week. So she's taking one, and she's going to be up early in the morning anyway. So I figured it'd be a good opportunity for her to just. And there she is in the chat. But anyway, it's just going to be me tonight. I've got a few ideas about what to talk about that might keep you interested. Hello, David Keith. Hello, Eric Stevens, always in the house. And there's my lovely wife, Denise. She knows how to address me. Good morning, Damien. How are things going over there? It feels like Scotland here right now, Damien. We've been sitting under a low pressure system for about 3 days and just a foggy, misty rain every day. So I'm sure you can relate to that. Right now it's raining pretty hard, actually. Denise says tonight's not going to be nearly as interesting and fun. I'm going to try to prove her wrong because I got some ideas, folks. I have been, as if you've watched the show, if you've followed us at all, I've been around this field for about 30 years. Yeah, Damien says they've got snow on the way there, apparently. Wow. That's it's a little chilly here. It's about 51 Fahrenheit here, Damien. So a little bit chilly, but it's not snowy at all. But anyway, I've been around this field for a long time. Only really considered myself a serious investigator maybe about 10 or 12 years, to be honest. I've dabbled in it for many, many years. Been on investigations for, off and on for many, many years. But as far as actually delving into it with both feet myself, it's just been over the past 10, 12 years, I guess, something like that. And one of the things I've learned, and I learn something new every day. But one of the things I've learned is that the paranormal is, it's definitely real, but it's not as widespread or in your face as some people like to think of it as, if that makes any sense. Paranormal activity is often very, very subtle. Hello, Joanne. And yes, I do have a smart wife, Denise. Joanne's in the house. She's here just about every week, too. Now, paranormal activity is often very subtle. It's that movement you see out of the corner of your eye that you're not sure what it is, or it's something being misplaced, like something that was over here being over there, and you don't know why. It's little subtle things more often than it is a door opening or a door slamming or seeing a full-bodied apparition or I'm not sure exactly, Sandy, where Greg is. I know that he was going to be on an expedition this weekend. I'm not sure if he's home yet or not. But all of those things happen. You'll have the full-bodied apparition. You'll have the doors slamming. We've had the door right back here, right over my shoulder, open during a podcast when there's no reason whatsoever for that door to open. We caught a scream during a live podcast when there was no reason for that. Hello, Courtney. Good to see you in here. Hope you're sharing the crap out of this. But more often than not, a paranormal investigation involves hours and hours of sitting around in a dark, abandoned, dirty, filthy, stinking place talking to yourself. And we all know that as paranormal investigators. Hello, Kevin. Good to have you in here. But one of the other things that I've learned is that those first probably 20 years that I was dabbling in the paranormal, most of what I thought was paranormal was not. The orbs, the streaks of light in pictures, the faces in windows, and all of those things that a lot of people put out there as evidence and a lot of people believe wholeheartedly in. And I'm not going to poo-poo on them or anything like that, but just having been in this for a long time and analyzed a lot of photographs, a lot of audio, a lot of video, spent many hours watching IR cameras while I was at Waverly Hills helping with security there. I've learned that most of what people used to perceive as paranormal evidence is not. And it's, on one hand, it's a little disappointing because there were a lot of things that I would post back in those early days and be like, oh, I got the greatest evidence out in the world out here. And nowadays I can look at that same evidence and debunk it like that. And I think that is very important. Hello, Virgil from Manchester. Good to have you in here. Rebel's in the house. Good to have you, Rebel. I mean, that's a good thing and a bad thing, because like I say, it's disappointing that when you come to the realization that a lot of what you thought was paranormal really isn't. But also, we've got to weed out the fake evidence and the non-evidence and the misinterpretations, the pareidolia, all of those things. I'm going to get to this real quick. Do you feel you've desensitized to the conditions of the location in favor of your senses being more attuned with less distractions? I do feel that I get desensitized and pay more attention to you. I mean, like we say, it's kind of cliche, but your body is your best piece of evidence or your best piece of equipment. And that, hair raising up on the back of your neck, all of those things, I rely on them a lot more than I do, a REM pod, or although we use REM pods, we use a lot of equipment. But I rely a lot more on my own senses picking up on activity than I do anything else. I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, clarify, and I'll try to make it a little bit more clear. And Virgil, yes, you can certainly ask a question anytime. Wade, I appreciate the cheerleading because I'm sitting here trying to keep up with comments without my sidekick here to bring them up or to tell me that I'm not doing it. So I'm trying. I'm doing my best here, folks. So that was one thing I wanted to touch on, though, is that never stop learning. If you've been doing this for a long time, or if you've been doing this for 6 months or 2 weeks, that's one thing to always stay open to, is learning new things. And I mean, I learn every day in this field. And it comes from listening to others in the field. So one of the great things about the Get Haunted Network, I mean, we have a huge family of investigators that all have different ideas, opinions, use different types of techniques and equipment, and visit different places and all of that. And then we come together and we talk about it. We have group chats and things like that among the show hosts and things like that. We bring different topics up all the time and talk about it. And Yeah, Denise brings up a good point too. Uh, People come to the house. For those of you who don't know, we live in Kentucky's most haunted house. We do offer Friday night investigations, one Friday night per month. We've still got a few of those left through the end of the year. You can contact me. Uh, Hang on a minute, Virgil. I'll get to your question. But you can get with me and we'll work out a date if you're interested in coming to the house. But anyway, we've had some people come to the house, and Denise and I, who are here every day, and we know that the place is very haunted. A lot of the things that happen around here, we'll just look at each other and be like, did you hear that? Yeah. And we go on about our business. So people will come and we think that they've had a quiet night because we've had a couple of things like that we've noticed and didn't think much of it. And then by the end of the night, they're telling us what an amazing night they had. And we're kind of desensitized, like I think is what Damien was getting at earlier. We don't really see it as being that big to have, footsteps or, the sound of talking in another room or something like that, because we hear that all the time here. But for the average investigator who doesn't have that happen all the time, that's a big deal. And they're usually very excited about it. Now, Virgil says that he saw a show called The Long Island Medium and she seemed very fake. Any thoughts, brother? I've seen her show and I'm not going to say that she's fake. I don't know her personally. I know there are a lot of mediums out there. Some of them are very good. And to be honest with you, the better they are, the more fake they seem. So, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't know her personally, so I couldn't say anything, speak on that really. I have seen her show though, and I've seen where, some of the readings are pretty amazing. And so whether or not it's fake, I can't speak on that, to be honest. I appreciate the question though. And yeah, Jennifer says she thinks it just becomes normal when you live in it. It's not paranormal anymore. It's just normal. Yeah, and Damien, you're right. If the Long Island medium doesn't vibe with you, find one that does. There are a lot of them out there. I could recommend several. There are several mediums out there. Yeah, I recognize a charlatan when I see one, but I'm not going to call somebody out that I don't know. Because when people have television shows, I'll tell you this. I have a lot of friends who have been on paranormal television, and they are very genuine people, very good people. And production companies often ruin that for them because they have to sell advertising to keep these shows going. And the production companies want there to be something to sell, if that makes sense to you. And oftentimes they can make people that are not fake appear to be fake, if that clears it up any. That's my opinion. Just just one person's opinion. Getting back to the house. We have been here now for about 2 years. We've found several cool relics around the house. Out in the yard in particular, we found a dog tag from a soldier that was stationed at Fort Knox, which is just a quarter mile that way from the house, during World War II. I mean, his dog tag was from 1942, and we found his dog tag here in the backyard. Don't know exactly how it got here, but that was pretty cool. We found a lot of different things here, but the other day, 2 days before the Kentucky Derby, mind you, I was out back mowing the grass, and as a lot of you know, we had a flood recently had a lot of erosion from the flood, and we've had a lot of things wash up. But anyway, I was in the backyard mowing the grass and found these. These are very old horseshoes, still with the tacks in a couple of places. And I still got to clean them up a little bit. They're a little dirty. I cleaned them as good as I could when I first found them. But these are not these are not new horseshoes. I don't know exactly how old they are. So I don't know. But this is one of the coolest things we've found here, I think, since we've been here. I'd like to have someone who knows more about horseshoes look at those and see if they could give me a date on them, because they have been around a while. Let me get back up here to some questions. Has the energy at the Ditto House changed at all after the floodwaters in the area? I'll tell you this, Damien. When the waters were coming up as the river was rising and starting to flood the town, it seemed like activity ramped up a bit, to me at least. And now that they've gone down, it's back to normal, which doesn't mean it's quiet at all, because this house is always active. And but we always have something going on, but it just doesn't seem to be nearly as crazy as it was when the waters were coming up. Hang on here. Let's see. Wade says, Ernie, with all the activity that's expressed in our house, do we ever feel drained or lethargic, as if the spirits draw energies from you? Or do they leave you alone in that regard? I'll tell you, Wade, for example, yesterday, we were both off work. It was a day off. It was Derby Day, for God's sakes. I mean, big party day for this area of the country. The Kentucky Derby is a huge holiday around here, and everybody has parties and picnics or goes to the track themselves or whatever. Denise and I slept pretty much 90% of the day yesterday, and still felt tired, if that makes sense. And I do believe that the energy here does drain us from time to time. I think that has a big effect on things. So yeah, if that answers your question, yes. And yeah, like Denise says, it gets exhausting around here. We had some family in last weekend, and we started to talk about it a little bit on the show last week, but last week there was a weird energy with some things going on with Rob and Danny, and some items that were in their house. So we had a bit of a weird show last week. But anyway, I started to talk about it. We had some family in last weekend, and we were sitting downstairs. I mean, there were quite a few things that happened as far as equipment going off and things like that. These were folks that don't do the paranormal every day like we do. So they were very interested in us breaking out some equipment and trying to get some communication going while they were here. So we did. And we got a little bit going on. And then we just went down to the dining room and we're sitting there talking. While we're sitting there talking, we all start overhearing a conversation between two men, clearly two men having a conversation upstairs here in this room. The dining room's directly below me downstairs. And there were two men talking in this room that there were not two men here in this room. Everyone that was in the house was downstairs. But we all heard this conversation, and it went on for a good 5, 6, 7 minutes. And with all of us just kind of sitting there listening and, trying to pick up on what they were saying. We couldn't tell what they were saying. But after that, I mean, I feel like that was another moment where it kind of drained us, because Denise and I, again, after they left town, we both crashed. I mean, we had a day that we were just shot. And it wasn't because of them. I think it was because of all the energy in the house pulling from our own energy. And like she said, about every couple of weeks we crash. We have a day where we just totally check out. Yeah. Yeah. Like Denise says, we were in awe of it. We were sitting there like, wow, that is so cool. And our soon to be son-in-law, he was sitting there like he didn't know what to think. You know, he's got very strong religious beliefs, and part of that is denial of the paranormal to a certain extent. And so that was kind of a spiritual awakening for him, if you will. But we've had a lot of those kind of moments too, and seen other folks experience moments like that. Rob Stackowicz has talked about his spiritual experience with the forest people when he was up at Fort Duffield. Hang on, let's see if I can pick up on this question here, Virgil. My girl took her life 2 years ago, but she never came back, not even in dreams. But my late mom is still in my dreams. I can't say. I couldn't really tell you the answer to that, Virgil. I don't know if you've tried to communicate with your girl. I don't know if you want to, but if you want to, try just running a recorder and talking to her just like you would if she was there, and listen. Give her time to respond between questions. You know, don't just keep talking, but ask her a question, just, you know, how she is or whatever comes to mind. But talk to her just like she's there, and then go back and listen to that recorder and see if you pick up anything. You never know. If you want to hear from her, I hope you do. But you know, Packman Paranormal, we've said it many times on the show, was founded because Bigfoot found us. We weren't a paranormal team. Denise and I were friends doing some ghost hunting. We were in a cemetery and had our Bigfoot experience that kind of began there and then really escalated just a short ways away from that cemetery. After we left the cemetery, just down the hill from the cemetery, we had an actual visual of something big and dark walking through the woods, and then heard a vocalization that we cannot explain. And you're welcome. And like Denise said, sometimes they don't come back until you're ready. Sometimes you have to accept that they're gone and be okay before they'll talk to you. So, Virgil, you might want to keep that in mind too. Just read there what's on the screen. Denise said it very well. And Wade agrees. But, you know, we had this encounter. We wind up on a live stream podcast called Ghost Hunters Meet Bigfoot. And we were introduced to a guy named Greg Yost while we were doing those live streams. And we didn't know who he was. They said they call him Squatch Man. We didn't know who he was. We didn't know anything about the forest people or Bigfoot. We weren't Bigfoot people at all. And when we met him and started talking to him and started watching how he worked, we realized that we had been any preconceived notions that we had of what Bigfoot was, or any cryptid for that matter, could just be thrown out the window. They are not this big, hairy, missing link, you know, Neanderthal or Gigantopithecus or ape or whatever. They are an energy being, much like a spirit. and they can come to you. They can appear in the same ways that spirit can appear and communicate. Just as a spirit can appear as a full-bodied apparition, or a shadow figure, or sometimes people see what looks like gas fumes when they're experiencing spirit activity. Bigfoot can, or the forest people, can appear in the exact same ways. And just as spirit can, mediums will tell you that they mind speak with spirit, basically. And Bigfoot can mind speak with humans. Bigfoot can sap your energy. Bigfoot can give you energy. And, that is as far as cryptid research, we're hosting a cryptid panel at the Rock Island Roadhouse in October. And at the Rock Island Esoteric Expo. We're hosting a cryptid panel up there. But really the only cryptid that we have truly investigated and gone in the woods looking for are the forest people, or what people call Bigfoot. But I feel like they're all connected, just like I feel like all aspects of the paranormal have a connection, and it's got to do with interdimensional things and time overlays and string theories and all kinds of stuff that's way above my pay grade. But I'm trying to piece it all together. And I don't know. The whole concept is hard for some people to wrap their heads around. That the people that do believe in Bigfoot, there's a big chunk of them that are convinced that it's this flesh and blood animal that you can track, that you can follow migration patterns, you can follow food sources, and you can mimic activities like banging on trees with a stick or howling or things like that, and you can track them and hunt them in that way. I don't think that's the case at all. I think that they're very much like a spirit. And if you want to have a communication with one of these beings, you go out there just like you would if you were trying to communicate with a spirit. You talk to them. You introduce yourself. You try to earn their trust. Once you do that, and once you've earned their trust, you never know. Claire says she kind of sees me and Denise going to hunt for Mothman. You see that? See the shirt, Claire? Denise is from right down the road from Point Pleasant. So, yeah, we've spent a lot of time up there around Point Pleasant. We haven't actually done a Mothman hunt, but we've spent a lot of time in that area. But I mean, that's my advice to anyone that wants to have a Bigfoot experience or a experience with the forest people, is to get out there and just open your mind to all the possibilities. Throw out any preconceived notions of what you think these things are or how they might react to you or how you're going to react to them, and just treat it like you're doing a ghost hunt, basically, and try to talk to them as if they were people and see what you get. Because when we did that, when we met Greg Yost and saw that that was how he communicated, and we started doing that and started believing in that, the amount of encounters we have had since then are unbelievable, but they are real. And we have been fortunate enough to show large groups of people those kinds of experiences when we have our events up at Fort Duffield. And when we've taken folks up to meet Squatch Man up at his forest up in Indiana. And yeah, Denise says she's been to those TNT bunkers up in near Point Pleasant. And Yeah, she was dragged there as a kid. It's true. And yes, like Denise says, if you come to the trifecta, hopefully we'll be able to give you that experience as well. We've still got tickets available for the trifecta. And Rob, yes, it is me. It is me, Rob. The ticket link is right there. If you're interested in coming to the trifecta, we've still got some tickets left. Rob is the man running the show on that. Rob and Sarah with Get Haunted are in charge of that. Get Haunted and Paranormally Blonde. It's one of those events. We will be there along with Squatch Man, along with Todd and Leanne Eskew of the Black Wolf Paranormal, and the one and only Christopher Lee Jansen, who is one of those psychics that I highly respect and believe in 100%. One of the best in the business. That's going to be a great time. We're doing a CE5 experiment ran by Christopher Lee Jansen with singing bowls and lots of all the bells and whistles to try to see if we can draw in some extraterrestrial activity. You never know. And yeah, like Denise says, you will see all of the most handsomest men in the world, I guess. Okay. I did say she's from West Virginia. Remember that. And Virgil asked, do you think they could be interdimensional creatures? Absolutely. I absolutely do. And Jen, well, get your tickets and come on down. You missed out on coming the last time. This would be a great opportunity to get down here to Fort Duffield and see the Ditto House and meet Squatch Man. Like I say, Christopher's going to be doing the CE5 experiment. We're going to have the one and only Squatch Man, Greg Yost himself, up there trying to bring in the forest people. He's been successful every time we've had him up there so far. And then we're going to have Todd and Leanne Eskew of the Black Wolf Paranormal, Denise and myself, excuse me, up there doing some spirit communication. You got the whole Get Haunted gang, Rob, Sarah, a bunch of the Mercs are going to be in, a bunch of the Get Haunted families coming in. So, yeah, that's going to be a great event. Going to be a great event. Let's see. There was something else I wanted to talk to you guys about. Oh yeah, Rob mentioned this. Ernie doing the burgers. If you come to the trifecta, or if you go to the extremeticketing.com website and search for Trifecta 2.0, one of the add-ons is Picnic with the Packs. That'll be held here at the Ditto House, Kentucky's most haunted house, right out back. I'll be grilling burgers, hot dogs, and we'll just kind of have a good old-fashioned cookout and hang out back here, talk, exchange ideas, philosophies, thoughts, laughs, jokes, whatever. Just hang out for the day and see what comes up. And Jen says she's heard they're absolutely amazing burgers. They really are. Well, Virgil, when you're in America, look us up. Thanks, Rob. I couldn't have done it without you, brother. I appreciate you. I would have been just floundering as usual without you spurring me along. I see how you did. You created a segue for me. It's professional. Very good. But see, I don't get any respect here. Oh, no, there's Marie Murphy. She's going to be at the trifecta. And we're probably not going to be able to get her out of the house once she gets here. It's going to be crazy. No, Marie and Robert are coming down for that. That's going to be a good time. EPS Paranormal. Right there. They make great equipment. There's the phone number. Write it down quickly. But no, the trifecta is going to be a good time. And then after that, we'll get back into our regular rotation of having our spirit squatches and stories around the campfire up at Fort Duffield for all of our local folks here. And we're, for the first time ever, we're taking that show on the road to the Rock Island Esoteric Expo up in Rock Island, Illinois, on the Friday night before the expo. The expo's on Saturday. Well, that Friday night, we're doing a Spirit Squatches and Stories Around the Campfire event at Black Hawk Forest. They're near Rock Island, which is supposedly it's a Bigfoot hotspot as well. And that's going to be a good time. So if you can't make it to the trifecta, or you're not close enough to come to one of our Spirit Squatches and Stories Around the Campfire, and you're near Rock Island, Illinois, come to the Rock Island Esoteric Expo and get that add-on ticket for the Bigfoot Expedition, Spirit Squatches and Stories Around the Campfire there. Greg Bakken's going to be helping out. He's going to do a CE5 thing there. We're going to have Squatchman, ourselves, Todd and Leanne Eskew. Grizzly Chris is going to join us. It's going to be a whole host of people up there with that one. So it's going to be a good time. Let me get a drink because I'm getting dry here. All right, then. Anyway, I see you over there, Rob. I see it. Let's talk about something that's a little controversial. Does that sound like fun? Let's talk about, and I've asked this question rhetorically many times, and people always think I'm joking, but I'm very serious, and I've brought it up more than once. A priest, a rabbi, and let's say a mullah walk into a haunted location. Do they experience the same activity? My thoughts are no. Uh-oh, there's the Todd. He finally got home from work. Hello, Todd. Good to see you, brother. My thoughts are no. I think that they might have actually experienced the same activity, but their own spiritual beliefs cause them to interpret those experiences differently. Does that make sense to you guys? And along the same lines, and Wade, I think Wade disagreed with me when we were talking about this on another show a week or two ago. I feel like the way that we deal with spirit activity, if we're trying to control or banish a spirit, a lot of people will burn sage. A lot of people will use black salt. A lot of people will use holy water. A lot of people use different crystals, you name it, different things. That's not a funny joke, Rob. It's really not. It's not. But a lot of people use different things in their effort to control spirit activity if they're having, oppressive activity or something like that. And I think that you have to have this wide range of tools in your toolbox when you're dealing with spirit activity. We use a little bit of everything. And Rob, I told you the joke was not good. It's not. But no, I mean, we use a little we'll have crystals. We always have crystals. I mean, always got crystals on us. We keep St. Michael medallion. We've got holy water right over there. We've got sage. We've got cedar. And none of those things work 100% of the time. And I think that if you kind of narrow your focus in the paranormal on dealing with spirit activity with just one way of doing it, I think you're probably doing yourself a disservice, and your client, if you have a client that you're dealing with, you're doing them a disservice, because these spirits were once people. Okay? They have their own belief system. They might not all respond to sage or cedar. You know, that's kind of a Native American thing or a pagan thing. These spirits might not have any respect at all for a pagan ritual, just like they might not have any respect at all for a St. Michael's medallion or holy water. They might not have any respect at all for crystals or any of those other things. So if you just focus your mind on one set way of dealing with this stuff, I don't think you're going to have a lot of luck sometimes. That's just my thought. Something for everybody to think about yourselves, and you know, come up to your own conclusion on it. And Denise says it depends on the beliefs of the ones you're helping or the spirits you're dealing with. At the hospital, we have to honor their religious beliefs based upon their requests. We don't just bring a Catholic priest. Exactly. On the battlefield, you know, the chaplains on the battlefield, they don't just have one standard prayer that they pray for everyone who's mortally wounded on the battlefield. They find out what one's belief is. So that's all I know. I don't know. I just think, I feel like that's an interesting topic for conversation that often gets overlooked in these paranormal podcasts. A lot of times we get caught up on equipment or things like that. And something that we learned, Denise, myself, Todd and Leanne, Beth Allen, all of Ernie's people that were running tours and investigations out of Waverly Hills for season, and experienced a lot of people being affected by spirit there. One of the things we realized was that the first thing you had to do to clear someone of this spirit attachment or whatever it might be was to find out their own faith, what they believed in, and get them grounded in their faith. That was the first step. And then you had to deal with the spirit in multiple ways. So we used everything that's why Denise created those EAD stones that we've talked about many times. They have a little bit of everything from crystals to brick dust they've got witchcraft, pagan rituals, they've got holy water, they've got a little bit of everything in there. And yeah, Denise says the same thing. That's where the EAD stone was born. I mean, it was a combination of all of those different methodologies, the best of the best from a wide range of religious and spiritual beliefs, rolled into one. And we would hand them those EAD stones, and then first of all, we'd get them grounded in their own faith. If they needed us to pray with them, we prayed with them. If they needed just to get barefoot in the grass because they were more of a pagan belief person, there you go. And yes, intent was infused into the EAD stones. Anything you do You know that, Rob. Anything you do in witchcraft has to be done with intent. So yeah. Marie, let me show you. I don't know if you've seen the EAD stone. Give me just a second here. This is a raw one that hasn't been cleaned up yet. It's kind of shaped like a Ouija board planchette. And it's got, I don't know, like 16 different elements inside there, including sage, cedar, hematite, black salt, brick dust from a haunted location. I believe this brick dust came from Octagon Hall Museum in Franklin, Kentucky. But there's so many different things in there, and it touches on all these different belief systems. It's not just one narrow-minded approach. And that's why I feel like those things work so well when we're trying to clear an attachment or something like that. Denise, I'm not going back over there. She says there's a bag that's got the list of everything that's in there. Just know that there's a lot of stuff in there, folks. It's got amethyst, it's got white quartz, clear quartz, rose quartz. Golly, a lot of stuff, folks. And they do work. They were created to give out to all of our guides at Waverly because we had a lot of folks getting affected down particularly in the lobby at Waverly Hills and other parts of the building as well. But it seemed to start in the lobby and be the most oppressive down there. And so Denise created this to give out to all of the guides, and we wound up giving them out to a lot of the customers and using them. There she goes. Here's the whole spiel. Let's see. Crystals cleansed with holy water, amethyst, clear quartz, rose quartz, black tourmaline, fire agate, black obsidian, hematite, other things. Dragon's blood, cedar, pennyroyal, black salt, agrimony, brimstone, myrrh, and Waverly brick dust. Not always Waverly. Like she said, not always Waverly. And I'm pretty sure that these have brick dust from Octagon Hall in Franklin, Kentucky, which is a very haunted location. But yeah, I mean, it's there's a whole lot that goes into those. And there's a whole lot that goes into dealing with spiritual attachments. And it can't be a single pronged attack when you're dealing with that kind of thing. That's just my belief. And I don't disregard anyone else's personal belief, but having seen probably hundreds of cases of people getting affected by spirit, I have realized that there's not one particular way that always works. And I feel like it's the same way when you're just dealing with spirit activity in general. There's a moth just trying to attack my face. But anyway, that's a thought. So nobody has any comments on that, so I'm just going to move on. Uh-oh. Damien says he's still a firm believer. Love energy is one of the strongest forms of energy. Spirits seem to be drawn to it. I agree 100%. 100%. And if you know Denise and my story, how we came to be, we were brought together by a spirit. That's a long story that I certainly don't have time to tell on this show now. But many of you have heard it already. But I do feel that spirits feed off of love energy and they respond to love energy as well. So as long as you're being positive, and I'll take this back, I'll take this a step further. The cryptids, like we talked about earlier with the forest people, I feel like as long as you're in the forest and you have no ill will, no bad intentions, you're not out to exploit the forest people, and you let them know that, and they get to know you in that way. As crazy it might sound, I don't care. It might sound crazy, but they know your heart, and they read that, and they feed off of that, and they will respond to it, and you will have a lot more interaction, a lot more, I don't know, success in your Bigfoot hunt. And the same with the ghost hunt. I feel, as long as you go with a pure heart and an open mind, pure heart and an open mind are your two keys to any of this. And I feel like you're going to get a whole lot better results if you focus on those things. That's one of the things that we try to do, Denise, myself, Todd, and Leanne. As most of you know, we're kind of joined at the hip a lot of times on investigations, and have spent a lot of time together, both in the woods and in haunted locations all over this part of the country. And we always try to bring a positive light and a positive energy and a very open mind. So, yeah, try that. If you're a ghost hunter that doesn't have a lot of luck, maybe you need to try more of that. If you're a Bigfoot hunter that doesn't have a lot of luck, maybe you ought to try more of that and less knocking on trees or hunting it like you're hunting a wild animal. Just saying. I don't know. I hope that I've made a little bit of sense. I've kind of rambled tonight. Didn't really have a plan. Just wanted to come on here and talk to y'all, share some thoughts on a few things. I really, I don't know. I'm getting to the point where it feels like someone in the chat might need to be booted. I don't know. Somebody give me a cue on that. But anyway, we've got, like I said, we've got some dates still available here at the Ditto House, Friday nights. We're trying to finish a new iron fence around front, and selling another Friday night would help us finish that new iron fence, folks. Just saying. But anyway, hang on here. Doing some housekeeping real quick. There. All right, got him. Okay. I hate doing that. I mean, all the way from Manchester, England, and then he just has to start being a little bit weird in the chat. So, sorry, Virgil, but you're done. Anyway, that kind of got me off track there of what I was saying. If you guys are interested in coming to Kentucky's Most Haunted House, contact me, Ernie Pack, 502-376-7240, just like scrolling right there. If you're interested in booking Fort Duffield for a private overnight, 502-376-7240, text me. We got a lot of open dates for that. If you're interested in coming to the Trifecta event, which is hosted by Get Haunted and Paranormally Blonde, like I say, they do an amazing job with all of their events. They've got the same kind of philosophy that we have. They're going to guarantee that you're going to have a good time, if nothing else. And you're going to have myself, Denise, Todd and Leanne Eskew of the Black Wolf Paranormal. You're going to have the one and only Squatch Man. You're going to have Christopher Lee Jans in there. Christopher's doing some readings also. It's another add-on ticket you can get. There's a whole lot going on with that trifecta. Picnic with the Packs, world famous Ernie burgers, world famous Ernie wieners. There, I said it. I knew Denise was hoping I would say that, so there you go. I did it. But that's going to be a great event. ExtremeTicketing.com. Just look for Trifecta 2.0 on there, and get your tickets for that while we still got some. Starting in July, we're going to get back to our Spirit Squatches and Stories Around the Campfire events up at Fort Duffield. Those, most of the time, it's Denise, myself, Todd, and Leanne, and the Squatch Man, and then we bring in another special guest every now and then. So just watch for our ads on that. We're trying to get Greg Bakken and Shar Savoy down here to help us host one of those. We've talked about doing that. Don't know if we're going to be able to do that. But they are world famous, Denise. So yeah, the Trifecta is going to be a great time. The Spirit Squatches and Stories Around the Campfire, if you can't make the Trifecta, we're going to start those back up in July. And then if you're coming to Rock Island for the Rock Island Esoteric Expo in October, try to get some of those add-on tickets for the Friday night before. I think we're calling that Spirit Squatches and Stories Around the Campfire, also Rock Island edition. And that's going to be an incredible opportunity for folks that don't usually get to our events around here to see what Squatchman is able to do with the forest people. How you can just call them in. It's going to be a great time. Got a lot going on. I mean, there's a lot of open dates for the house, a lot of open dates for the fort, and just a whole lot still to come this year. We're not sure if we're going to add any more. We're going to try to make it to the Missouri State Penitentiary for Brian Paoni's book signing, because his second book, the Grand Slam tickets here at the Trifecta include everything, I think. I think that includes everything. Denise says I've talked enough and I've got 2 minutes. So I'm down to about 1 minute now. But if anybody has any questions, you got just a minute here. I'll give it a couple minutes extra if anybody has any questions or comments that they want to get up here before we go. But I appreciate everybody giving me your time tonight and paying attention while I sat here and rambled. Probably should have prepared a little bit more since I was here by myself. But you know how I am. I can fill time talking. I can always talk. I just hope that I made some sense with some of what I said. But if nobody's got any questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I do appreciate all of y'all. We love everybody over here in the chat. Can't wait to see you, Marie, and everybody that's been over here participating in the chat. One of these days, we're going to get Damien across the pond. Oh, yeah, Todd. There we go. Thank you very much. Todd. He brings up September, the Bell Witch Cave. Todd and Leanne Eskew of the Black Wolf Paranormal host public events at the Bell Witch Cave in Adams, Tennessee, and we co-host with them occasionally, and usually once a year we co-host with them down there at the Bell Witch Cave. We're going to be their co-hosts on, I forget the exact date, Todd, but I know it's at the September event. So follow the Black Wolf Paranormal for all the dates. I mean, I think their public events start up this month, if I'm not mistaken. But follow the Black Wolf Paranormal on Facebook, the Black Wolf Paranormal, and you'll be able to find all of the dates for everything they have going on. They also host events at Trousdale Place and do an occasional event at Stone Harmony down in Gallatin, Tennessee. So if you're in the Tennessee area, look them up and check out some of their events. Todd and Leanne, two of the best people on the planet. It's our brother and sister. Love them to death and highly recommend anybody interested in doing a public paranormal event of any kind, checking out one of their events. Denise is throwing random dates up here. May 10th, June 14th. I believe these are all the Bell Witch Cave events that she's talking, the public events at the Bell Witch Cave that she's posting. So, like I said, just follow the Black Wolf Paranormal on Facebook. You can search their page. You'll be able to find all that information. I've made it over an hour without falling flat on my face. So I appreciate everybody. We love y'all. Just stay in touch with us. If you have any questions or anything, find me on Facebook. If we're not already friends, send me a friend request. Be glad to talk to any of you. You all take care. Love you. And we'll see you next week with maybe a real show. Who knows?